Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. We are from Group 9, would like to present the results of our discussion regarding sampling technique, Transect and Quadrant Method in with observation. The member of Group 9 is Ade Novian Wibowo with student number 154, Clarisa Sheiladiva with student number 178, Yehezkiel Aldi with student number 198, and Rumampuk Yunita A with student number 199.
Definition of sampling technique. Sampling technique is a technique used to determine the sample. So a good researcher must pay attention to and use a technique in determining the sample to be taken as a research subject. The definition of sampling technique, according to Margono, is sampling technique is a way to determine the number of samples in accordance with the sample size that will be used as the actual data source, taking into account the characteristic and distribution of the population in order to obtain a representative sample. Sampling technique method. To determine the sample in the study, there are various sampling techniques used. Sampling techniques based on randomization, namely taking subject randomly from the collection, can be grouped into two, namely non-probability sampling and probability sampling. First one is probability sampling. Probability sampling is a sampling technique that provides equal opportunities for each element of the population to be selected as a member of the sample. With probability sampling, the sampling is random from the exciting population. Probability sampling techniques include, first one is simple random sampling, and then proportionate stratified random sampling, disproportionate stratified random sampling, and the last one is cluster sampling. Second one is non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling is a sampling technique that does not provide equal opportunities for each element or member of the population to be selected as a sample. This type of sampling technique include, the first one is systematic sampling, and then quota sampling, accidental sampling, purposive sampling, saturated sampling, and the last one is snowball sampling.
Vegetation analysis with plots can be measured using the transect method. A transect is a narrow transverse path on the land to be studied or investigated. The transect method aims to determine relationship between vegetation change and changed environment and to find out the relationship vegetation in a field quickly. The transect method is divided into two groups, which is line transect and belt transect. Line transect. The transect line is a sampling line drawn across a formation or several formations. The assumptions that must be held in the use of this method is, the first one is plants and line transects are located randomly. The second one is no plants are counted twice. And the third one is homogeneous habitat. If not homogeneous, can use stratification. Work principle of line transect. The first one is divide the path in the sampled area with a predetermined distance for each path. The second one is observers walk simultaneously according to the direction of their respective paths. The third one is observers record crop yields as they walk along the path. And the fourth one is make the distribution map of the results obtained. There are advantages and disadvantages of the line transect. The advantages, the first one is need little equipment and relatively simple. The second one is allow someone to collect important data even though they are less experienced. And the third one is very efficient and reliable to identify biota including weeds. And the disadvantage is, the first one is requires expertise to identify vegetation directly and good analysis. The second one is the time required to analyze with this method is quite long. And the third one is requires a lot of researches. And the second, the transect method is belt transect method. Belt transect is a vegetation path that is the same width and very long. The belt transect method is commonly used to study a large group of forests and their condition has not been previously known. The work principle of belt transect is commonly used transect with are 10 until 20 meters with distances between transects 200 until 1000 meters, depending on the intensity used. For forest groups covering an area of 10,000 hectares, the intensity used is 2%, and for forest covering an area of 1,000 hectares or less, the intensity is 10%. To facilitate tree measurement, the 10 meters wide strip is divided into 10 times 10 meters continuous plots, while the 20 meters wide strip is divided into 20 times 20 meters or 20 times 50 meters continuous plots. And the advantages of belt transect are that the data according of the number of individuals is more accurate and the data obtained has a fairly high accuracy and can describe the structure of the weed population. And the disadvantages is that it requires expertise to identify weeds directly. In addition, this method takes a very long time because of the lengthy process. There are quantitative parameters. The first one is density. Density is the number of individuals per species found in sample plots. The density of each plant species calculated using the formula below. The second one is frequency. Frequency is the number of occurrences of each species found from all plots example created. Species frequency can be calculated by formula below. The third one is dominance. Dominance is the area of the base of the tree or area of canopy cover for each species found in the plot. Dominance can be measured with formula below. The fourth one is important value index. This significant value index shows dominant species in the study area. To calculate the important value index, use formula below. And the last one is diversity index. After obtaining the results of the INP each species, then look for the diversity index of each plant species. The diversity of a plant community can be determined by using the Shannon-Wiener information theory. The diversity index determined by using the formula below and the results obtained can then be categorized into three categories, namely below.
Next is quadrant plot method. Quadrant plot method general. This is done if only tree-level vegetation is the subject of research. This method is easier and faster to use to determine the composition, dominance of trees, and estimate their volume. According to Simanung in 209, there were two types of methods commonly used, namely point-centered quarter method and wandering quarter method. The first is point-centered quarter method. In short, this method is a method in which the determination of point is determined along the transit line. The distance from one point to another can be determined randomly or systematically. Each point is considered as the center of the compass direction, so that each point gets 4 quadrants. In each of these quadrants, registration and measurements of the area of the tree cover closest to the center of the quadrant is carried out. In addition, the distance between the nearest tree and the center of the quadrant was also measured. And the second is wandering quarter method. This method is a method by making a transit line and setting a point as the starting point of measurement. Using a compass, one quadrant, 90 degrees angle is determined centered on the starting point and bisect the transit line by 2 equal angles. Then the registration and measurement of the area of closure and the distance of one tree closest to the center of the quadrant is carried out. This method is more flexible and can be applied to tree population with random, clustered, or uniform distribution patterns. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, you can ask us on SPADA. Thank you.